Call to order the Common Council meeting on March 24th, 2020 at 7:40 p.m. First up is a roll call, or Pledge of Allegiance. Sorry, please stand. Roll call, please.
Alder Arata Frada.
Here.
Alder Barr.
Here.
Alder Strassman.
Here.
Alder Clowder. Alder Krause.
Here.
Alder Rice.
Here.
Mayor Richardson.
Here.
Alder Schrader.
Here.
Alder Scott.
Here.
Okay, you have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. As you can tell, this is a little bit different meeting today than what you're used to. We do have 3 members online right now of the council, and this might be the future. Don't really know in the future if we might all have to be online, but we can hear everyone. It's been working really well to use it for finance. Please be sure here in the room, make sure your mic is on so that they can hear you, those that are online. And we're going to just try and take our time, and hopefully I'll be able to get everyone online a chance to speak and just wave at me or do something, and I will make sure to get you on there. First up is mayoral proclamations and public appearances for non-agenda items. I don't have anyone that wants to speak on a non-agenda item, but I do have the mayoral proclamation recognizing April 2020 as Census Awareness Month, so I'm going to read this now. Whereas the U.S. Census Bureau is required by the U.S. Constitution to conduct a count of the population and provides a historic opportunity to help shape the foundation of our society and play an active role in American democracy, and whereas the city of Fitchburg is committed to ensuring every resident is counted, and whereas more than $400 billion per year in federal and state funding is allocated to communities and decisions are made to distribute such funds for healthcare, housing, education, transportation, social services, employment, and others, and whereas census data helps determine how many seats each state will have in the U.S. House of Representatives and is necessary for the accurate and fair redistricting of state legislative seats, county and city councils, and voting districts. And whereas information for the 2020 census is vital for economic development and increased employment. And whereas the 2020 census creates jobs that stimulate economic growth and increase employment. And whereas the information collected by the census is confidential and protected by law under Title 13 U.S. Code. And now therefore be it resolved that the city of Fitchburg is committed to partnering with the U.S. Census Bureau and the state of Wisconsin, and will support the goals and ideals for the 2020 census and disseminate 2020 census information to encourage those in our community to participate. 2, encourage people in our community to place an emphasis on the 2020 census and participate in events and initiatives that will raise overall awareness and ensure a full and accurate census. 3, support census takers as they help our community complete an accurate count. 4, create or seek opportunities to collaborate with other like-minded groups in our community by participating in complete count committees or utilizing high-profile trusted voices to advocate on behalf of the 2020 census. Be it further resolved that I, Mayor Aaron Richardson, hereby designate April 2020 as Census Awareness Month and encourage all citizens to respond to the census. And I know I got mine in the mail. I know other people have. As people are sitting at home, it's a great opportunity to take 5 minutes and fill that out. And it really benefits us as we try to get funding and support for all kinds of different things. So please do that. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion for consent agenda?
Motion to approve. Second.
All right, second, is there anything that anyone wants to remove from the consent agenda and talk about separately? Seeing none, then all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
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 And all opposed, say nay. All right, that passes. Next up is administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have several items to discuss tonight, so bear with me here. A lot going on at City Hall right now. The first of which is City Hall will be closed to the public as of 4:30 p.m. today. In-person voting has been postponed until further notice, and as of now, the election is still on schedule. That's for Tuesday, April 7th. The public is to vote in person if they need special accommodations, and that would be done by appointment only, and that would be done by calling City Hall and our clerk's office. The public may meet with various city staff, department heads, for regular business such as plat approvals, building permits, etc., and that would be done by appointment only. So individuals that need anything from city government should first call City Hall. You'll be directed to the appropriate department head, and then you will set up an appointment to see that individual. You'd be met at the front door, as our doors will be locked as of 4:30 tonight, and you'll be able to meet with those individuals and get your work accomplished. Secondly, all employees are currently working from home or from the office. The individual department heads are working with each of their staff to determine if there is work to be done at home and the priorities of those tasks. Employees not willing to work from home will be using their leave time. So anyone that decides they don't want to work, they're just going to use some vacation or personal time, they're welcome to do that from home also. Construction continues. You'd see from the governor's directive today that construction's been deemed essential. So those of you that driven around Fitchburg know that we're very busy in terms of new development. Not only our infrastructure being roads, you'll notice that Fahey Glen will start construction tomorrow, the connection between the two roundabouts on East Sherrill and Lacey. We'll also be starting Highway PD McKee in April, as well as Fish Hatchery Road scheduled for the beginning of April also. So you'll see road construction crews, you'll see a lot of activity out there. Other building will continue. We have two major Promega projects under construction that will continue. Sub-Zero's large project on Seminole will continue. You'll see development going up on Fish Hatchery Road. The old dairy will start very soon, as will the Park Bank on the corner of Greenway Cross and Fish Hatchery Road. So that's all good news long-term for the city, and I think ultimately will have a great impact on our local tax base. And then also, if you look at homes, we currently have 19 houses that are under construction. That doesn't include all the multifamily that's going up also. All of these projects here that I mentioned have a large impact on our staff, not only from the permitting standpoint, but also the inspection standpoint, the planning review, et cetera. So we maintain being very busy at the staff level, and we look for that to continue. So next is we have sort of suspended all activities with volunteers over the age of 60. So we had a lot of volunteers in the senior center that were delivering meals over the age of 60. We've suspended that due to the high risk of our senior population during this crisis, and we'll look to obviously continue that again once this thing has passed us by. So we appreciate all the work our volunteers have done over the years, but we want to keep them safe also. And then lastly, as the mayor mentioned, the census is a very critical piece of information for our federal government, but it's also critical for our city. It's easy to put that on the back burner now with all the stuff we're seeing with this virus going on, but please take those few minutes and get online, fill out your census so that Fitchburg can get the appropriate federal and state allocations. That's all I have, Mayor.
Questions for Pat at all? There's a lot going on. All right, seeing nothing, then we can go on to Plan Commission. Tom?
Plan Commission, the first one we have tonight is our 6720 resolution approving certified survey map CS 2330-20, request by Paul Maxwell, agent for Helen Purcell, to divide property was along Adams Road, Lot 4, CSM 10315 into 2 lots. I'll move motion to approve.
So moved.
He moved. Are you seconding? Tom moved it. Are you seconding?
Oh, I'm seconding.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry,
And
Mayor.
seconding. And you want to talk about
Just-
it? Did it? The plan approved it, right? But Ag and Rural Affairs did not meet. So
Right, and what happened on this is, you might remember that it was postponed because Ag and Rural Affairs had not seen it, or then they saw it and they didn't agree with the distance and the boundaries. That has been resolved, and I'm actually happy to report that they did resolve it, and I think there was like 11 conditions, but they've met them all, and we're good to go.
yeah, I think that's the key, is that they finally listened to Ag and Rural Affairs feedback. Ed Kinney, who's on Plan Commission, is also on Ag and Rural Affairs, so he was able to speak to the concerns they had, and he was very comfortable approving it because he thought that they did address all the concerns that Ag and Rural Affairs had before that. Dorothy?
The one caution that I want to throw up to, if not this council, then the future council, I think this is the third that we're approving that pushes the 1.5 acre up to almost 2 acres. We are setting a trend, and it's very likely that more and more people are going to come in and say, I want my 2 acres to put my one house on. This is a city that considers farmland to be valuable, and we want to preserve it. So to keep pushing this 1.5 acre bubble up to 2 acres is something that we ought to take very seriously when we consider these.
Any other comments at all? All right, then seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay.
Nay, for the reason I gave.
All right, that is approved. And so moving on to the next one, this is the same project, but you can do this one 2 times.
The next one is ordinance number, it's RC 2331-20. It's a zoning ordinance amending, approving rezone request RZ 2331-20 by Paul Maxwell, agent for Helen Purcell, to rezone a portion of the property along Adams Road, Lot 4, the CSM, it's 10315, from exclusive agriculture district to rural residential district. Obviously, I'll move it.
All right, it's moved by Tom,
Second.
seconded by Dan. Excellent. And Planning Commission did approve this. Again, Ag and Rural Affairs didn't meet. Same project, and just another step to that. Is there any further discussion or comments? Seeing none, then all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. All right, that is approved as well. Next up, Tom.
The next one is number 3. It's ordinance, we should read those. Ordinance 2020-0-13, RZ 2339-20, zoning ordinance amending, granting general implementation plan zoning for property associated with 5395 East Sherrill Parkway. I'll move approval.
Is there
Second.
All right, seconded by Dan. We did talk about this in our staff meeting this morning, that for things like this, we do want to have a better description on the agenda. So going forward, that will happen. Do you want to speak to this, Tom? Do you want Pat to? Do you want me to?
Shortly, all I had was I'm going back to my notes. We had I believe they wanted like 13 more parking stalls. And that's
Yeah,
what it was
this is hospice
associated
care.
with.
Yeah.
At the time this was approved, goes back to the GFI was like 2004. It's quite a while ago. But now they just want more parking stalls, and that's where we are with it, really, just parking. I believe there's 5 conditions. That sound right? Something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, this is for hospice care. When they originally did their plan in 2004, I think you said, it specified an exact number of parking spots. I'm not sure why it did that. They've obviously grown since then, and they're adding a connection out of their parking lot to the new connection of Fahey Glen between East Sherrill and Lacey Road. And so this will enable people to get to hospice care a lot easier when there's events happening on East Sherrill. Right now, if there's an event like Burby Derby and art fair and all these other things, it can be kind of difficult to get to hospice care, but this will enable people to get there essentially from Lacey Road without having to go on East Sherrill. And so they just asked for some more parking. One of the things we talked about in Planning Commission was how many people park on East Sherrill right now, so we're hoping this alleviates that a little bit anyway. To be determined with the Pro Mega expansion, how much that will help, but hoping that helps a little bit as well. Is there any questions or comments? Yeah, Dorothy.
I was just going to say, this is still the connection that I argued to get in place before we redid Lacey, for the sake of the people on Lacey Road that would have liked to have gone halfway down Sherrill from either end. Other than that, I completely approve of this.
All right. Oh, yeah.
I just, I'm sorry, I'm new at these minute things, so I missed who made the second?
Dan.
Dan did? Okay, thank you.
We'll train you.
All right.
Don't worry. All right. Is there, so seeing nothing else, we'll go to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any,
Aye.
any opposed, nay? All right, that is approved. Next up, Tom.
Next one is resolution, it's R 236-19, a resolution endorsing the city's request to amend the urban service area for the Fahey property in the McGall neighborhood. This was postponed from March 10th of this year. I'll move approval.
Second.
All right, seconded again by Dan. Do you want to speak to this? Do you want Pat to speak to this?
Pat, I don't,
All right.
Yeah, this is basically the request by the developers of the Fahey Field subdivision to expand the urban service area to the south. What is required in that process is the city submitting an application to CARPC, and that application has to be approved by this body. So they do have all their ducks in a row now. The big issue that we've been waiting on is if the area could be served with storm sewer and what capacity our storm sewer had. It's been determined that our sewer does have the capacity for this new development, so Public Works and the rest of staff is recommending this body approve the application to CARPC.
I know that when we looked at it as well, this extension does follow the neighborhood plan. This was an area that was designated to be an urban service area long-term, and it still has the same density and all those pieces as well that was originally approved. So this does follow the plan, and this was kind of an expected thing. It's nothing that a neighborhood member is going to look at and go, wait a minute, this isn't what we approved, this isn't what we expected. I know that's been an issue with other projects in the past. Questions? Julia?
Yes, I want to know if all the extension, the sewer and water going there is going to be paid by the developer, I am assuming?
That's correct.
Okay, so the city is not going to pay any extension or any,
No, nope, all improvements, including park improvements, parkland dedication will be paid for by the developer.
okay.
Yeah, Dorothy?
I didn't look at all the paperwork as carefully as I might have. What I wanted to find out was whether this process at this point is setting the densities for different parcels.
At this point in time, no, it hasn't been platted or anything. It just shows an extension of the urban service area. That would come later in terms of a general development plan for the neighborhood.
No, well, I think broadly it does, in terms of like this section is low density, this section might be medium. I think there's a section for like a 10-acre institutional piece.
Yeah, there is a general land use map, but it doesn't get down to like parcel by parcel size, I think. would be ultimately the review that this body would be going through, but it does talk about different land uses of multifamily, single-family, institutional, as the mayor noted.
Roads are planned out at this point already as well. We just don't know where the lots necessarily are going to be. Yeah, Dorothy, do you have a follow-up?
Yep, what I intend to keep an eye on is when they were planning that north piece, they says, well, we're going to put the single family up over here, and we're going to reserve this corner for the high density. And I said, I'm going to watch them because they're going to get single family in, and then single family is going to rebel against actually putting high density in, down in the corner. And I want to make sure that their promise is kept.
Okay.
Julia?
My question is, I forgot. I'm sorry. It was.
I'm sorry if I distracted.
Yeah,
Does have to get approved by CARP C.
no, my question, sorry, my question was, when they're gonna start, develop that area?
Well, I know it has to get approved by CARP C first.
Oh, it hasn't,
Yeah, this is allowing them to go to CARP C to
Oh.
get that approval. So it's
Okay.
still at least a year away, maybe even two, you think 4 years?
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically, they have a lot of area to develop still out there, so they're looking 3 to 4 years out here.
because the phase one is still,
They're actually on
Underdeveloped.
phase 3, they'll
Phase three,
be
okay.
bringing in, that would develop towards McGaw Park. And then this would be, they're probably at least 3 years out
Okay.
before starting this project.
One of the things I like by doing this and then looking ahead is that it helps keep a stock of available places to build homes in Fitchburg. We don't want to get to a point where, we don't have anything plotted, someone wants to build, and there's very limited options. So I think it's good that they're looking a few years down the road and the need. I think they've been doing pretty well in selling lots in that neighborhood. Are there further questions at all? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right.
And anyone opposed can say nay. All right, then that is approved. One more time.
Last one I have, is Resolution R 42-20, resolution to approve an affidavit of correction to the Terra Vesta, or reduce the vision corners to 12 feet. I'll move approval.
Second.
All right, seconded by Dan again. Do you want to speak to this?
Quickly, it had to do with reference to stop signs in the vision triangle for the stop signs. It has to do with, I call it the back roads to the garages. If you know what I'm trying to say, going in by their garages in the back down there.
Alleys?
And it's not really an alley. It's some people might call it that, but it's a side roads off the main road. It's a vision triangle.
You want to add anything, Pat?
Yeah, just one thing, I was reminded by our Public Works Director right now that this also covers, in the description, it changes the public utility easement in there to cover some fiber that will be going in for the school district also. So in addition to basically installing the stop signs, because the vision triangle has been shortened, we're also going to be providing some fiber easement for the Oregon School District.
Yeah, really, I think there were some intersections that didn't have stop signs, so they had longer visibility everywhere, but they decided that they actually would rather have the stop signs in there, and then they can, I think, have more parking maybe and on the roads. Is there any questions at all? Comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. All right, then that is approved. Anything else, Tom? Or any other items? Anything else for Planning Commission?
That's really, everybody was at the Plan Commission, and to be determined our next meeting, I think.
Yeah,
Just leave it at that.
yep. All right, Public Works, Dan?
Sure. At this time, I will make a motion to approve Resolution R 50-20, approving an agreement for subdivision improvements in 3101 SFH LLC CSM.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tom. And do you want to speak to this? You want Pat to
So
speak
Pat's
to
going
this,
to
maybe?
speak to some of these. Some of these, obviously, we had to cancel our meeting, so.
Yeah, we did cancel Public Works. Yeah, Pat, go ahead
Yep.
and explain this one.
And I have some good notes here provided by our Public Works Director, so thanks, Mike, for that. It's a standard subdivision improvement agreement for the former dairy site. We'll have an updated agreement. We had that done as of today, so that is in your packet. So this is, again, for the redevelopment of the dairy site on Fish Hatchery Road.
This is another one we talked about in the staff meeting that what was on the agenda wasn't very well described. And so another one that we're going to look to try to improve in the future so that people understand it better.
To read this in, and I don't know what it is, where it is, and, you know, so if we have more clarification for us to,
Definitely.
Yeah.
because this is not the same company that the other one. SFH is the same, it's not the same company that they are doing the development for the building, isn't it?
Basically, when developers purchase each of their projects, they usually form a different LLC for. This LLC, they're calling SFH, stands for
Yeah.
South Fish Hatchery.
But this one, what is gonna cover, what is,
What's the building going to be called?
yeah, I am confused with the different type of company that we are dealing here, so which one is for, you know, because we have the other one, what is the name of the other company that doing the building,
Across the street, EJ Plusco's.
no, in the same, it has an
The
investment.
developers are Ned and Mike on this
Yeah,
project.
yes,
This
what
is just an LLC they formed. This is their same company, but
Same
But what
project.
they're covering in the LLC, do you know? What is,
It's
is
the
the land, is the, you know,
the subdivision improvement agreement calls for all the public improvements around the project. So the sidewalk, the roads, the water, the sewer.
so they are putting all of that in this
Yep.
LLC, okay?
Yep.
Okay.
And this basically just states how it has to be done prior to the city accepting it.
No, I understand how companies do the LLC, but I was confused to see which, you know, because I know that the other one has a different name, so I was confused with what it was this one, so.
All right. Are there other questions on this one at all? Pat, there's nothing unusual about this agreement, is there?
No,
Anything
this,
else?
as you're aware, this is a TIF project, and some of the roadway for Traceway also, it's been changed to Bowman Drive, or Bowman Boulevard, I can't recall what it is.
Drive, I believe,
Drive,
yeah.
okay. That is going to be paid for partially in TIF. Some of the undergrounding of the utility lines will be paid for by some TIF. But this basically just generally calls for how the public improvements would be constructed and accepted.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. All right, then that is approved as well. Next one, Dan.
Motion to approve Resolution R 51-20, a resolution amending the subdivision improvement agreement related to the improvements associated with Payne and Dolan CSM.
Is there a second? Seconded by Sarah on that one. Public Works didn't meet. Did Finance approve this? They did. All right. Do you want to speak to this, Pat?
Yeah. The original agreement had occupancy of the Promega building. This is the building that's located just south of Sub-Zero off of Lacey and back from Seminole. But the original agreement had occupancy of the Promega building tied to the completion of Commerce Park Drive, along with some utility and bike path improvements along Lacey Road. What this amendment does is we want to bid all of the Lacey Road improvements at the same time to reduce costs. This agreement removes the Lacey Road improvement requirement and ties the occupancy to the completion and acceptance of Commerce Park Drive. So basically, Promega cannot move into their building until Commerce Park Drive is accepted by the city.
And we didn't want them to do part of Lacey Road this year when next year all of Lacey Road is getting rebuilt. We want
That's
to just kind
correct.
of do as part of one project and not piecemeal Lacey Road.
That's correct.
Questions at all, comments? Yeah, Dorothy?
So we're saying, I'm looking at a map, red and blue indicators on it. What we're bidding out is the project from Seminole Highway to Fitchburg Road.
That's-
That entire stretch,
That would be the Lacey Road component of this, that's
Next
correct.
year, yeah.
plus where it goes up Commerce Park Drive.
Yep.
Okay, and we're talking roundabout at Seminole?
To be
They're
determined.
going to do traffic control device. The engineers will come back to the city with options, most likely, recommendations for either a roundabout or a traffic signal.
Okay. Something more than four-way stop in any case?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions or comments on this one? I don't see anything from the Brady Bunch group online. Sorry, it looks like you're on the
You
Brady
guys are
Bunch.
so cute up on the screen.
All right.
Definitely are the pretty.
Havana waved down.
Seeing nothing, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any,
Aye.
any opposed, nay? All right, that one's approved. Next one, Dan.
Motion to approve Resolution R 52-20, a resolution approving a cost-sharing agreement with the Promega Corporation related to the funding of Lacey Road and Commerce Park Drive.
Is there a second? Seconded by Sarah. Pat, is this the same
Yeah,
project?
yeah, this is the same project. This just talks about how the costs are allocated in the project. As I noted, it was a TID project, and Promega is going to be responsible for bidding the entire Commerce Park Road or Drive along with all of Lacey Road, but some of that they'll get reimbursed from the city, some they won't. So this basically outlines that in your packet.
I know Plan Commission approved. Did Finance approve? They did as well. All right. Julia, a question?
Yeah, so I want to understand this better. So this is, we are using TIF money, okay, to pay for all this infrastructure, and then Promega is gonna go and do the bidding. Why not the city?
Because Promega's doing it in conjunction, the Commerce Park Drive portion in conjunction with their building improvements, because the timing of the opening of their building is tied to the Commerce Park completion.
And who is gonna be doing all the, the inspection and the quality control and all of that? Is gonna be Promega because they're going to bid, or?
No, the city will inspect the entire project. We do for all public right-of-way.
No, I know, but it's the first time that I heard that, that a private entity is gonna go and bid
It would be,
something that we are paying with TIF money. You know what I mean? So either we're paying for their own money, it's fine, but I want to understand this, because,
a good comparison would be a developer, let's say Terravesa. They build all the roads, and then they turn them over to the city. They're public roads. We still inspect, even though Terravesa is constructing them, we still inspect them.
no, I understand the part, but I want to understand why, it's a TIF money, eventually the city is paying for all of this. Why Promega is going to do the bidding for all of this instead of the city is gonna go and do the bidding. Because this is, at the end of the day, they are our roads. We are paying for those, TIF or not TIF, we are paying for that. So I want to understand the logic, what we as a city going to bid though for this project.
Well, the developer, it's going to be there, it's a lot like the dairy site, the new project on South Fish Hatchery Road. Well, they'll be building the Bowman Drive portion of that roadway. They're able to put that bid in along with other projects, components they have on site, so they're able to get things potentially at a better price if they bid it than if we bid it. They're going to be doing their parking lots. They're going to be doing a lot of other concrete curb work around their site. So it makes sense that they bid the whole project as one.
So it has happened. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen.
It actually happens a lot.
Well, since I am sitting here, this is the first time that I heard about something like this magnitude, you know what I mean? Like this one is almost $4.5 million we're talking about, so, you know, I was curious to see, you know what I mean? I need to ask this question.
Yeah, where the funding comes from is different, but in terms of a developer building the roadways, that's the norm for the community.
Dorothy?
Do we either see or have a chance to approve bids for that?
That would be,
Mike, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I'm on. We will, that's part of this cost sharing agreement is we do get to review and approve all the bids and contracts. And as well, as part of why Promega's doing it is they're required as part of their development agreement to do Commerce and a big portion of Lacey as part of their development agreement. And rather than break Lacey into two projects, we just decided it would be more cost effective to bid it all as one and then reimburse them for what they're not required to do.
Dorothy?
And again, as I'm looking at this same map with the red and blue lines on it, are we talking about their portion being the red from Badger State Trail to the end of their parcel? And the
Correct.
city portion being from the end of their parcel to Fitchburg Road, as well as the Seminole Highway intersection?
that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed can say nay. All right, that passes. Next up, Dan.
We're on number 4, a motion to approve R 53-20, a resolution releasing a public water main easement and public storm sewer easement on Onlet 6 in the first addition to Stoner Prairie.
Is there a second? Seconded by Sarah. Pat, you want to speak to this one?
Yes, these are easements that are no longer needed because the final phase of the plat is dedicating the right-of-way to the public for roadways. So these easements basically will be erased by public right-of-way.
We kind of did it a different way than we originally thought, essentially, and so
Yep.
we're cleaning up the plats.
Yep.
All right. Public Works didn't meet. I know Plan Commission approved this. Any other questions or comments at all? Seeing none, then all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. All right, that one is approved. All right, next one, Dan.
Resolution, motion to approve resolution R 54-20, a resolution approving a public sidewalk easement, a public sanitary sewer easement, a public bike path easement, and a public stormwater easement on lots 1, 2, and lot 1 in CSM 14838, part of the Fahey Glen Roundabout Connection Project.
There's seconded by Sarah. And Plan Commission did approve this. And you want to speak to this one, Pat?
Yeah, this is just easements for public improvements for the Fahey Glen Road extension, part of the Promega project. So the extension between Lacey and East Sherrill.
All right. Any questions or comments on this one? Seeing nothing, then all in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed, nay? All right, that one's approved. One more, Dan.
This is number 6, a motion to approve resolution R 55-20, a resolution approving reimbursement of the lift station number 1 Terravesa Force Main and Meadowview Interceptor design cost to Fitchburg Lands LLC.
Seconded by Sarah. Pat, what's this one about?
Okay?
Or do you want
I
Mike?
don't know how Tracy does this so quick here, but basically, 5520, this is Fitchburg Lands LLC provide an escrow amount of $1,327,000 and some change to cover the Terravesa portion of the cost of the lift station, which was 70%, the Terravesa Force Main, 70%, and the Meadowview Force Main at 73%. In addition, Fitchburg's Land LLC directly paid the design costs for the above construction. They have provided invoices for these costs, and this should be reimbursed accordingly. So this is just a reimbursement for money that was fronted by Terravesa.
Did finance approve this? They did. All right. Questions, comments on this one at all? All right. Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Anything else for Public Works, Dan?
No.
All right. Park Commission, Sarah?
We didn't meet, I don't have a report.
All right. Library Board, Ann?
We did not meet either.
All right. Commission on Aging Well, Dorothy?
Yeah, we met. Jill sent out a note today. People know, I think, that the senior center is closed for all intents and purposes. They've still got a lot going on, though. They are providing meals to all seniors that need a home-delivered meal, all of the ones that had been, plus the vast majority, if not all of the people that had been coming to the center regularly for lunch. So they're up to 42 home-delivered meals. They're getting lots of help to deliver them. I'd asked Jill this morning whether they need any extra drivers, and she says they're covered, so that's great. Including EMS and police officers are delivering meals apparently, which is really cool of them. One of the things that she did not mention in the note that she sent all of us was that they've put together a critical needs assessment referral form that they've got linked on their website that asks if you or anyone you know needs certain services, delivered meals, medication pickup, grocery delivery, assistance with personal care, feelings of depression, isolation, those kind of questions. If you know of someone who needs those services during this crazy time, find that form and fill it out and send it to the senior center staff, and their information is on the form. You can also just call or whatever if you know someone that needs a little bit of a helping hand during this time. So that's one way the senior center is trying to keep in touch with all of our older neighbors. And again, we have no idea when our next meeting will be.
Yeah.
We do know we have a president who wants to be open by Easter. I'm like, no.
All right. Moving along. RCC?
We also didn't meet, no report.
Okay. I know that there was a lot of events scheduled for Earth Day. Do you know if some of those are still happening?
The shredding event, e-recycle event has been canceled at this time, looking to reschedule. The waterway cleanups are still under discussion. So we planned on sharing those if those are rescheduled, but as of right now, unknown, sorry.
That's good. All right. Transportation and Transit?
No report?
All right. CETA?
We didn't meet, so I will table these two resolutions that they're coming.
So you want to move to postpone?
Yeah, to postpone until our next meeting.
All right. You need to make a motion to do that.
I would like to postpone Resolution R-03-20 and Resolution R-2620 to.
Oh, why don't you do them separately? and-
Separate, okay.
Yeah, just
Okay.
separately. So first one, do you want to read the whole thing? No, I think you're supposed to read the whole
Okay,
thing.
I would like to postpone Resolution R-0320. The City of Fitchburg support the vision for the community organization promoting the arts, COPA.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Seconded by Shannon. And so I think you kind of spoke already, but since you didn't meet and discuss this, you want to postpone it?
This one, I don't know, maybe I can discuss with Shannon, because we discussed this in our meeting when they came. We decided it would be a good idea that the city provides support with a resolution. We mentioned that in CEDA, so I remember because we have the presentation from COPA, and after that discussion, we told them one of the way that we can support them was through doing this resolution. So this one, I feel comfortable that we can, if you want, we can vote on this because we discuss it, in CEDA.
And I know this motion is not committing us to any dollars or anything like that, but they said that when they're doing fundraising, that a resolution saying that we like this idea would be helpful. Before I forget, I almost forgot, I did have a public comment on this from Nancy Mistel, so I'm going to read this.
Aaron, if we could go back, though, if you, I think,
Oh, I need to remove the
rescind your
postpone.
motion.
Well, with the reason we do to postpone instead of table is because you can have discussion on postpone.
Okay,
So I'll just read this quick, and
Okay.
then, unless you want, I mean, if you want to withdraw your motion, you can.
I will say, I don't know, Shannon, you were in that meeting, so how do you feel about that? Maybe we can, I can remove the postpone and we can vote because we discussed and see that, so I feel
We'll
comfortable
be fine
with
with
this one.
that.
Huh?
We'll be fine with voting if you are.
Okay,
All right.
yeah, so I'm gonna remove my
You want to
postpone.
withdraw your motion? All right. Would you like to do a new motion?
So I look in a motion to approve resolution R-03-20.
And I second.
All right, seconded by Shannon. All right, I will read this public comment that I do have here. Mayor Richardson and members of the council, on behalf of the boards of directors affiliated with this project, Dale, I'm going to pronounce his last name wrong, Stika, and every person working to bring a performing arts and education center to Fitchburg, we sincerely thank you for the public acknowledgement of the COPA project and resolution R0320 on the agenda this evening. The COPA will be a catalyst project, a spark within Fitchburg's vision of downtown development along the Gateway Corridor of Fish Hatchery Road. By design, at 70,000 square feet, the COPA will be a permanent home or occasional use space for professional arts organizations to provide youth arts programs and training, meeting needs that exist today. Arts organizations of all sizes will find administrative, practice, and performance space under one roof and a home to permanently establish their base with sufficient space to expand their programming. By design, the COPA, with a focus on exclusivity in accordance with the City in Motion initiatives of the City and Fitchburg Chamber, Visitor, and Business Bureau, brings professional arts training and education to the community, creating accessibility to youth and adults who wish to develop their personal talents and interests. Artistic events open to the public will create opportunity and exposure where none exists. By design, the COPA will become a social gathering place as gallery nights or community theater events offer a variety of artistic programs for arts patrons from all walks of life. By design, facilities within the COPA will be accessible to the community, available for personal or corporate events. The COPA will be located in Fitchburg, but our reach will go well beyond its boundaries, reaching participants and patrons from Dane County and beyond. The economic benefit from the creative activities supported by this facility, travelers participating in programs, as well as patrons of performances, will be realized across many business sectors within the community. We take this moment to respectfully acknowledge your recognition of the COPA and the community impact that comes with the development of this magnitude. Sincerely, Nancy Mistel, the Executive Director of the COPA, but also Chris Deering, who's President of the Board of COPA, and Dale Stika, who is the President, Owner, and Visionary of Sosonic. All right. You want to speak to that, Julia?
Yeah, well, we have the presentation, so we know what we're talking about. My only concern is that people, because I receive a lot of comments or people think that it's the city of Fitchburg building this art center. I don't know. So, and I say, I wish that we can build it. We don't have the money, but I think we need to be careful because there is a confusion that people think that we are building this this art center, and I say no, we are helping them to come to Fitchburg, but so far we haven't even committed to any monetary amount yet. So, but this is a great thing. It will be great that they're coming to Fitchburg, especially the Fish Hatchery Corridor. It will be great, but.
Yeah. Dorothy?
I'm not sure if she mentioned, if she did, I don't remember, that Nancy also came and talked to our entire council about this project. Yeah. So we should all be quite familiar with it by now.
Other comments at all or questions? All right. Seeing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. All right, next one, Julia.
So next one, yes, that one I want to postpone Resolution R-2620, declaring the need for the Dane County Housing Authority to function within the city of Fitchburg and authorizing the Dane County Housing Authority to operate within the city of Fitchburg.
Oh, hold on, I need a second. Is there a second?
Okay.
Second.
All right, second by Sarah, thank you.
So-
One second. I know, so CETA did not get to discuss this. Housing Advisory Committee did approve, Plan Commission approved, did Finance approve? Okay. All right, go ahead, Julia.
So the idea to postpone is because I think CEDA is Community Economic Development and Housing Authority, so I think it should come to our committee for discussion. I mentioned the mayor this afternoon that I particularly have, we have a lot of questions that we like to ask to the people from Dane County Housing Authority, and I respect that, and I am glad that it was approved in the other commission, and you guys had the opportunity to discuss. And this is what I am asking is, you allow us to go to CEDA to discuss, because I know that this is not, I am asking this because this is not an essential or an emergency that we have to vote right away, because, the state is in an economic stop. The we have all this pandemic coming up. There are, I don't think that they are going to come to the city to build something in the next couple of months. So if we wait another month until we can get the chance to meet, I will appreciate that. So.
I do actually have a letter from Rob Dick from Dane County Housing Authority to read as well, so I'm going to do that quick. Mayor Richardson and City of Fitchburg alders, I want to thank you for your hard work on the City of Fitchburg housing study and for considering this resolution authorizing the Dane County Housing Authority to exercise its powers in Fitchburg. As many of you know, the DCHA was formed by the Dane County Board of Supervisors in 1972 to address the housing needs of all Dane County low-income residents. Since that time, DCHA has helped tens of thousands of families find housing and ensure that they could afford to remain in that housing. Wisconsin statutes require that a municipality pass the type of resolution you are considering tonight in order for a public housing authority to operate within that municipality. But I want you to know that the DCHA wants to be a partner in this process. We want to finance new construction of affordable housing in Fitchburg that meets the needs of Fitchburg residents and the wants of council. We hope to acquire and rehabilitate tired multifamily housing and keep the rents affordable for the current tenants. We look to partner with the city on home ownership developments that bring single-family home prices down to a point where young families have a chance to live and work in Fitchburg. I know there have been concerns that approving this resolution will somehow allow the DCHA to operate in Fitchburg without any checks from the council or staff. I want you to know that you have more control over our potential activities than you do over any other public or private development in your city. The Housing Authority cannot so much as purchase a single-family home in Fitchburg without first coming to Plan Council. This will ensure that any project the DCHA proposes in Fitchburg will be well vetted and one that you want to see in your community. Finally, I want you to know that while DCHA and all public housing authorities are exempt from taxes by state law, DCHA is committed to paying our fair share of local services. To that end, this resolution ensures that a payment in lieu of taxes will be established equal to the local mill rate portion of the real estate taxes paid on an annual basis to the city of Fitchburg for any property we purchase or develop. I wish I could be there with you tonight to answer questions regarding this resolution. The start to 2020 has proved to be a difficult one for all of us. I take solace knowing that I have secure employment that continue electronically while I hunker down at home with my family. I know all too well that this is not an option for so many of Dane County and Fitchburg's families. At this time of crisis, I ask you to allow the Dane County Housing Authority to join the fight against homelessness and poverty within your city. Sincerely, Rob Dick, the Executive Director of the Dane County Housing Authority. I know that's one thing that the Plan Commission did, or I'm sorry, the Housing Committee did change, and I know Plan Commission approved, is that there was something in here originally that they would pay some fee and tax in lieu of taxes, and they just added that it would be equal to the city tax levy, so that there's kind of not, oh, what should it be or not be, that it's just kind of the standard that it's whatever the city mill rate is, that's what they would be to kind of take that out. But even though the housing committee, which is a subcommittee of CETA, reviewed it, like Julia said, CETA did not get a chance to review this. Dorothy?
Yeah, I have. If Rob might be watching from home, is there a phone number he can call into if he can answer some questions?
Scott?
Yes. 608-729-1725.
Thank you. So Rob, if you're listening, one question that I have is, knowing that he interacts, or the Housing Authority interacts with other developers and developments, I'm concerned that there might be developers that are wanting to tag onto the approval that they're anticipating happening tonight. As far as they're looking at developments to propose in the city. Since we don't know when CETA will be meeting again, I would guess that if we delay this now, it could easily be at least 2 months, and then the council meeting after the CETA meeting, before developers would be able to talk to Housing Authority about working together on projects. If I would have known that this would have come up as a delay, I would have suggested that CETA watch the recording of the Housing Advisory Committee, because that was a good suggestion.
Probably right.
That was a
Council
really
chambers,
good,
please stand by.
a really good meeting where Rob went into all of this in great detail. And if CETA would have been able to just watch the recording, I think they would have felt a lot better about it.
And I think there's a lot of value to have CETA weigh in. I know that one of their members is on the Housing Council, Jennifer, and she did vote to approve. Actually, it was unanimous vote to approve. And then I know 2 of the CETA members are on council, so that's at least 3 of 7, which isn't everyone, and I say there is value, but I will say that. I believe that we just got a call in from Mr. Rob Dick. Rob, do you have anything that you would like to add?
No, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to call in and answer any questions that you have. I mean, this resolution obviously is something we've been working on for a number of years, and was part of the recommendations from the Housing Study and the Housing Committee, and so I think it has been supported through that process, and would certainly be a good thing for the residents of Fitchburg. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Dorothy?
I would ask Rob whether he knows if there are other developers that have been talking to him about developments they're proposing that would involve Housing Authority.
So, yes, there certainly are developers that are looking at doing developments in Fitchburg who have contacted the Housing Authority asking if we are willing or able to partner. So it's always been a question of how much we can do. I mean, obviously, with the Housing Choice Voucher Program, that is a program where tenants choose where to live, and even though it's a program that we administer, this resolution isn't required for that to happen. But in order for us to actually be part of the ownership structure, and in order to finance construction with tax-exempt bonds, we would need the resolution to operate. So whenever I get approached about a potential development in Fitchburg, my first response is, well, we don't have the resolution to operate, so there's limits to what we can do. There are a number of projects that have either not gone forward that we've been approached about, or have gone forward but without us, and at a much reduced affordability because we aren't able to participate.
All right. Other comments, questions, thoughts at all? Sarah?
I did watch the Plan Commission meeting where this was discussed, and I thought there was a nice conversation about the positives that this could provide. So I guess, Julia, can you think of any negatives that CETA would bring up? Like, I guess I'm having a hard time understanding the postponement request just because it does seem like there's just a lot of favorable outcomes of this rather than some negatives, but I don't know if I'm overlooking something.
Yeah, I can not speak from my other fellow member, but, the only thing that I am asking is we can have the opportunity to discuss like every other commission had. It doesn't mean that we are opposed to this. It's the only is to have the chance to discuss. And, maybe we like the housing task brought something, add something to the resolution. Maybe there's some other stuff that we can add to the resolution that we don't know yet because we haven't had a discussion. You know what I mean? I don't think that it's gonna be some, that people have anything negative about this resolution. It's more to have the opportunity to discuss it. So that's it. You know what I mean? Like, if you decided that, you don't want to do that, but this is the only thing that I ask. It's not like we are against. I am not against this. I want to, to have a discussion with CEDA. That's it. I don't know if this one if there are something like in the pipeline that we need to vote tonight because he knows something that we don't know in the pipeline, and, we need to have this resolution done by this month because there are projects coming along, It's different, you know what I mean? So I am open to, not to postpone if I know that there are some projects in the pipeline waiting for this resolution.
All right, is there anything else?
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I completely understand that you just want the opportunity to discuss. It just is exactly like what you just said, that the idea that we could miss an opportunity
Yeah, exactly.
makes me nervous.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I have Dan next.
So I don't know if is he
Dorothy.
still in the line?
He's still on. Yeah.
Okay.
Dan?
2017, when I first became an elder, I had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Dickey, Rob. And how you doing, Rob?
I'm great, thank you so much.
Yes, and we talked about this, and I thought it was a good idea then, actually. And at that time, the then Plan Commission killed this, and apparently there's a different attitude. That's good, I guess, but that's what went on then. And now you do have people in the community using it as a platform, and that's fine. It's a marketplace of ideas. But I think this is something that could provide options for the body. If the council doesn't like something that's brought forward, they could vote it down. That's their prerogative. That's all, and that's what I said then, and that continues to be my position now. Obviously, others have some other ideas, but that's okay.
I know one of the things that we did talk about at Plan Commission quite a bit was that if for some reason we're unhappy with the agreement, we can stop the agreement at any time. So if there are any concerns or anything like that, we can do that. I think I've said this in here before, that we're the only city in Dane County that does not authorize them to operate in their city, and the only village that does not authorize them is Wanakee. So of the cities and villages, that's the only one. Dorothy?
Well, since there are a number of professionals that work in the field, including developers and realtors and all kinds of, a whole variety of good people, the sense that I got was as soon as this resolution is passed, he's going to have people approaching him, wanting to partner on things with him. In the uncertainty of shutdowns, I'm really afraid of delaying this. I know this is the time when developers are really doing their planning for the upcoming season. And if we put even a month's delay in planning, we could very well end up tanking some projects, and I'd really like to avoid that, so I will vote against delaying it.
Dorothy, do you want to, you're on Housing Council, or Housing Committee, I mean. Do you want to speak at all to the discussions? That group is probably the most qualified board that we have of any of our boards, actually, with the people on there, but if you want to speak to anything you discussed, that might help.
Well, I've got the nice meetings or minutes. Let me just read it. Dane County Housing Authority presentation, Mr. Rob Dick. Dane County Housing Authority presentation, Mr. Dick provided the committee with an overview and activity report of the Dane County Housing Authority. Mr. Dick expressed interest in working with the city, but only wants to work with the city if the city wishes and is comfortable with the work DCHA does. Some of the items that the DCHA can do is work with private developers to bring affordable housing developers through Section 42 tax credit program, can issue tax-exempt bonds, can provide grant funding, provide project-based rental assistance, co-develop properties with nonprofits. Committee members had the following questions for Mr. Dick. The answer follows. What was the most number of units that the DCHA owns? The answer was 2 24-unit buildings in Marshall. Question, do you pay a pilot? And I'm not entirely certain exactly what that means, but he says yes if requested. Question, do most of your properties pay a pilot? Answer was not all properties do. Please give an example of a pilot. Mount Horeb is 10% of the total rents collected, less utilities. I'll finish this and then we can ask Rob. Next question was, how do you go about purchasing a property? Most purchases are based upon an opportunity such as an owner wanting to sell, a foreclosure, or the DCHA looks for opportunities through listed properties. These properties are then usually renovated. And then, as Aaron had said, we discussed the actual resolution and tagged onto that final line, which is not included in the resolution in front of us, that the Housing Authority future payment in lieu of taxes agreement we added on that is equal to the city tax levy. So that would be the point of discussion that I'd like to have here tonight before we would approve it finally. Then I would ask Dick to explain what pilot means.
Sure. So pilot is just an acronym for payment in lieu of taxes. So since by state statute, any property of the housing authority is exempt from all taxes. So the property will come off the tax rolls. However, the statutes do allow for the housing authority to pay a sum in lieu of taxes that does not exceed make a payment for local services that does not exceed what the local portion of the mill rate would be if the property was on the tax rolls. So it sort of depends. It's by municipality. There's no blanket formula. The 10% of rents minus utilities is just one way that it has been done. Again, in our property in Marshall, they make a valuation of the property, even though it is not on the tax rolls, and it's assessed at zero. They still make a valuation of the property or use the purchase price and then apply the local mill rate to determine what the payment in lieu of taxes is. Some municipalities say it's okay, you don't have to make a payment in lieu of taxes, and in those circumstances we don't. So it really is a case-by-case basis, but we have no problem agreeing in the resolution to say that we would pay a pilot that was the local portion of the mill rate.
All right, thank you. I have Tom and Julia. Tom?
You know, what's before us tonight right now is to send this back to CETA, which I think is a good move. You know, I'm not worried about the time right now. We've done this before. Let me give you an example on something we did before, and I think it worked out well. We had an individual come to the city, and we were going to approve his house, and we decided not to take it back to Ag and Rural Affairs. where it should have been, so they could take a look at it, work with the owner, and come up with a solution. That was all done. It was on Adams Road, and it was done the right way. And what's before you is the alder just wants to send it back to CETA to discuss it where I think it belongs. And, you know, I'd like to hear their opinion on it. And I'm not going to get into the details right now, but just keep in mind that we've done this before with other things that have come up where a committee hadn't seen it and somebody raised the issue, which I think is fair to the committee. That's all I'm saying. It's fair to the committee.
All right, Julia.
So, so I want you to understand that because I am not against this initiative because I think that we can do a great partnership with the County Housing Authority, especially in the redevelopment of all multifamilies. I asked Sonia and her team to prepare a report for me that I wanted to present at CEDA about how many multifamily buildings do we have in the city per district, how many people live there, and how old they are, so we can show them to the Dane County Housing Authority and say, yeah, there is a need. We have multifamilies building that they are like more than 38 years old, in some, especially in District 1, that it will be great to work with them in this redevelopment. I am not against this thing. I want to, if you feel comfortable that we need to vote tonight, and because there are some pipeline coming, I am all for that. I am, because I am postponing, and I want to discuss with the rest of the members. It doesn't mean that we are against this thing. It's always to have the same opportunity that all of you had in another committee, that you have the opportunity to discuss it with your commission. So, but I am not against this. I am saying that, if you feel comfortable that tonight you want this to move forward and we approve that, I am open to, to change that. And the other thing that maybe I'm gonna send this email to you so you have an idea, all of the number of multifamily building by district, the estimate number of residents living in those buildings, and the average age of the building, so you have an idea that we have a lot of work, and this Dane County Housing Authority can be a great partner working with us, specifically in the redevelopment of all multi-family, that there are some of them are very old and in very bad condition, so that's it.
I've got
I-
Dan. Oh, sorry.
Given,
Janelle, go ahead.
given the condition of the world, it seems to me that it could be a long time before CETA has the opportunity to meet in person again. Is it viable to request that committee to meet in a forum similar to what we have here and consider doing that in the next 30 days?
Pat.
Yes. Given the situation which we're in, which is unprecedented, we believe we have some flexibility to ask for forgiveness instead of permission. So I believe that all bodies can meet this way moving forward.
All right. I've got Dan next, and then Dorothy.
So I'm pretty agnostic or indifferent. If CETA would like to go over it, I really don't think it's a problem. I would just say this. I'd make the point I made 2.5 years ago. Oh, you can vote this stuff down if they send you stuff you don't like. Okay, and I kind of like some of the concepts I heard from Rob about some of the redevelopment of the current multifamily in the city, the older multifamily, which they could work on. So I think that's something for people to think about in the future. We're trying to improve the quality of life in some of the vulnerable neighborhoods, and if they can be a tool in the toolbox. Now, one entity is not going to solve all of the city's problems, but the goal is always to move the football on the field, get first downs, maybe not score a touchdown, but we want to make progress. So this could be a tool in the toolbox. Don't have a problem if CETA wants to look at it. That's no problem with that. That's fine. But I think that people should just be aware of what this does. It's not committing the city or to anything. If something comes before the council and the council doesn't like it, you vote it down. That's your prerogative. If something you like comes forward, then we can pass it and it can go forward, and you can make a judgment moving forward if you like this concept. Tom in finance brought up the issue of, we should have a tryout period. Look at it for 2 years, see how it goes. I think we should give it the old college try. I thought that a while back. I think that, it's just another tool in the toolbox. It's just options for the city. I've always felt that way. So, again, if there's stuff you don't like, if there's a project that comes forward that you don't think is accommodating to the city's needs, then you can address that. The council still has the power, and just we go through our planning process. So that's where I'm at. If CETA would like a kick at the can to review it, by all means, that's fine. That's fine with me. I understand what Dorothy's saying. We don't want to lose opportunities and things like that. Maybe Rob can speak to whether or not we would lose opportunities if we had a delay. It sounds like maybe Pat and our staff could help us expedite the process through with CETA. If they want to meet, they could do that in the next 30 days, and at some point we'd come to a conclusion here. But ultimately, I think that this is just something that would be, it's just other options that you can look at and decide what you want to do with them.
Dorothy.
When I initially raised my hand, it was to add areas around the Nine Springs Golf Course as well as Greenway Cross and Coho area apartments that also should be added to the list of buildings that they would be interested in helping to rehab if that possibility came up. There's a lot of work that needs to be done up there as well. One point to be made very gently about CETA is that some of the members of CETA are not quite as technology savvy as some of the rest of us. So Pat would probably need to work with some of the members to make sure that they're able to either come into the building to meet or, and then I was going to point out that we approved a whole bunch of stuff tonight that Public Works didn't have a chance to see. We do that fairly regularly if things aren't able to meet, and we tell them it can go on their agenda for the next time they do meet, and they can discuss it all they like and give us feedback if they have feedback they'd like to give. So I'm still in favor of going forward with it.
Tom, did you have?
Oh, I've never seen such a long discussion on something that somebody wants just to bring back to committee. Keep in mind, Dorothy, that Public Works did that tonight, yes, but nobody pulled it out. Nobody said, hey, I want to talk about X, Y, and Z. They didn't do that. We have an alder tonight, that wants to bring it back to their committee. So there is a difference here. And we had an alder, in fact, it was probably even me or maybe it was Janelle, that brought that situation back from Ag and Rural Affairs. And this can't be that difficult when somebody wants to just bring it back to committee. I've never seen a half-hour, 45-minute discussion on a referral. That's just, I haven't seen anything like this before.
So can we vote then?
Yeah.
Are we ready to vote? All right, I'm going to ask for a roll call. I'm going to ask for a roll call just because it's going to be a little split.
Okay.
Can we summarize what we're voting on, just because
Yeah.
it's been a while, to be clear?
Yeah, so if you vote yes, you want to postpone this until after CETA gets a chance to review it. If you say no, then you want to probably vote on it tonight, yes or no. So this would say you want to postpone a decision until after CETA is yes, and a no would be no, let's go ahead and do this right now.
Okay. Is everyone ready?
Yep.
Okay. Alder Arata Frada.
Yes.
Alder Barr.
Yes.
Alder Clouder.
Yes.
Alder Krause.
No.
Alder Rice.
Yes.
Alder Schrader.
Yes.
Alder Scott.
No.
Alder Strassman.
Yes.
6-2. Yep.
So it will be postponed. All right.
It's postponed.
Thank you.
All right. Excellent. Anything else on CETA? I know you didn't meet, so
No, we didn't meet.
I know a lot of our businesses are hurting right now. And those that do have drive or pick up at the curb service, if you can help them, that'd be great. Ag and Rural Affairs, Janelle, I know you didn't meet.
No meeting,
All right. EMS Commission.
no meeting.
All right. Bike Committee. Julia.
No meeting.
All right. Tree Advisory.
Have not met. We do have something in our packet about tree plantings this spring coming up, I think.
Yeah, I know they're still doing a bunch of tree plantings. That's kind of still going on.
And everything Arbor Day related, we are presuming was canceled.
Yeah. All right. Landmarks Preservation, Shannon.
Nothing to report.
All right. Census Complete Count Committee, Dorothy. Fill it out. You should have it. A lot of people got it.
Everybody should have gotten note in the mail already. It's a few minutes online. You can do it by phone. There's all kinds of ways to do it. Things that the city has been doing, you guys have no doubt seen the tagline on city emails and agendas already. There's a summary one-pager. I think they sent that out to everyone. I'm going to be taking some home if Pat gets them to me tonight. I'm going to be taking some to various apartment buildings in my area, as well as the Little Luna's grocery store, to encourage people to pick those up as a reminder. So those are available for anybody who wants to help disseminate them. There will be an article in both the March and April Fitchburg Star about it. There will be articles in department newsletters. Dave from the Senior Center is still working with that. There's a number of email blasts that will go out. Some of them have been done, some of them have not quite yet. Outreach to MMSD, Verona area, and Oregon schools has been done. I sent a note to the Faith and City Leaders Group, encouraging them to make sure that the people in their congregations follow through on it. There's been ongoing Fact TV promotions. Thank you, Fact TV. One-page flyer with city billings and/or at the polls. That is supposed to have been done. I don't know how changes in election is kind of getting those kind of things set aside. I know I didn't get one with my absentee ballot, but that'd been kind of fun to get. Hard copy, one-page flyer postings, et cetera, posted at City Hall, Library, and Community Center on the official bulletin boards. Our neighborhood navigators are working with some of our apartment buildings and people to help get the word out. We just did a mayoral proclamation tonight. Thank you for Lisa and Aaron for that. Hard copy info available at various applicable events. And all of those events are probably canceled, so that probably won't be happening. But we want to be sure, particularly in those north neighborhoods, Rob's neighborhoods, that we want all those families and all those kids to end up being counted so that the federal and state funding comes down to the city and goes to the schools to help support those families. It's just really critically important for us to make sure and help in every way that we can with that. That's it.
All right, thank you. And Housing Advisory, you guys did get a chance to meet before the shutdown.
And I read Rob's thing. We're going to delay that yet. But it was a really good meeting with some really good brains that we have available to pick and help us to sort out our housing needs in the best possible way.
All right, thank you. Finance Committee, Tim.
That's why we're here tonight, to pay some bills. I only have two things, this approval of bills. These are checks, 120,583 through 120,644. They're dated 3/1/20, of they're dated through 3/15 of this year. The total is $839,489.22. Move approval.
All right.
The next one is a resolution, it's our 4120 resolution, our 41-20 spring tree planting plan for 2020. I'll move approval.
I'd second.
Seconded by Dorothy. Do you want to speak to this at all?
No, Sarah does.
All right, Sarah.
Parks reviewed this. It's just every year it comes around for the trees that are planted from the city. We did discuss it. We didn't have any concerns.
All right. I know they plan to do these plantings regardless of the shutdown. It's a great time of year to get those trees in. Any questions or comments on this? Oh, Dorothy.
One thing, kind of tying into that, but going back to tree advisory, we are talking about drafting a tree protection ordinance that will ask developers to look at existing trees and see if they're not able to plan around valuable trees rather than just cut down what many developers see as obstacles.
All right. Thank you. All right. All in. Yeah.
About the tree. So, when we created the new, we built last year in May the bike path on Seminole Highway between the two bike connector. We removed a couple of trees there, and we promised those neighbors that they came. You remember some of them, they came and complained about the tree, that we were planning to plant some of those trees. Are part of those trees that we are buying in this parcel, we are gonna, plant in that area? Sarah, do you know about something like that?
I'm sorry, that sounds familiar, but I'm not,
Okay.
I can.
I'm not
Can you
confident
check?
enough,
Because,
yeah.
okay. Because I walked there the other day, and I remember that there were a couple of trees, and that one was one of the concerns of the neighbor,
Okay, I'll check.
you know.
All right.
Okay.
We'll do that. All right. Seeing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Personnel Committee,
Oh, no, we cancel our meeting.
all right. Public Safety,
We didn't have a meeting.
all right, no meeting there. Mayor's report, a few things. First, I just want to publicly thank all of our staff for being really flexible during this time. A lot of people are working from home. A lot of people are doing above and beyond to help out our residents, people in our community. People like building inspection are still doing all those inspections because there's a lot of building going on right now, and we don't want to slow that down. So they're out and about. Zoning is connecting, finance is still getting all the bills paid. IT's been helping everyone get set up for remote access. I mean, I can go down the list. Everyone, Joyce is helping out the clerk's office a lot, but really, especially the clerks, I want to really recognize and thank them for all the work they've done. They've been putting in 10, 12, probably even 14-hour days, probably 60-hour weeks, coming in on the weekends as well. And that's really trying to get all the absentee ballot requests out. We have over 6,000 people that have either voted already or requested absentee ballot, still getting requests in, and you can still get your absentee ballot, But part of the reason why we are closing City Hall to appointment only after today is, one, the governor's orders, but also to help those staff members at the clerk's office. They have been going nonstop. A lot of people have stepped up to help them and help them with all these requests. But part of it is to protect their health. And there's a lot of people coming in and out of the building, and the last thing we want is for any of those people or all of those people to get hit by COVID-19 and not be able to work the election. I don't know how we would be able to do an election if that staff isn't available. I mean, they are here long nights, during the election, and they know how to do everything the day of the election. And so, it's to help them. And I think the mental strain was there as well, knowing that people are coming in and knowing that they could be exposed. I saw and felt the strain just mentally with those people as well. So that's part of the reason for that. One other thing that you may have heard about is unfortunate, or, again, regarding related to the COVID outbreak, is that Sub-Zero did lay off about 1,000 of their employees that make and assemble their different appliances. In their release, they did say that they expect to bring all those people back, but unfortunately for now, they have laid those people off. A lot of people are in our community, obviously, but hopefully we can get through this quickly and they can come back and get to work soon. So I just want to mention that if you did not hear that at all. And so that's what I have. I'll go down for all the reports down the list here. Dorothy?
Yeah, encourage everyone to go to myvote.wi.gov, ask for an absentee ballot. When you do that, it does not just go into a void. You can go back there and it will tell you if the request has been received by the clerk's department, if the department has mailed it to you, and when they receive it back. So you're somewhat assured that your ballot is doing what it's supposed to do and will be appropriately counted. So that's real reassuring for me to know. The other thing that I wanted to mention is these are times when people are supposed to stay home, and it can get depressing, it can get whatever. We've got the spring cleanup and Arbor Day events and everything are canceled. So I would encourage people to grab a trash bag on their way out to go take a walk around the neighborhood and just pick up trash as you walk. Just make the neighborhood a little bit nicer. Everything will be a happier city if we do that. And there's a lot of trash that is very visible right now. It's just that time of year. So do something good for yourself and the community and go take a walk with the trash bag.
Right. And you actually remind me of one other thing I was going to mention. If people are getting absentee ballots and they're concerned about the ballot getting back to City Hall in time, because it does have to get here by Election Day. If we get it the day after election, it doesn't count. We do have a spot in our vestibule here at City Hall inside the front doors where you can drop off that ballot, so you do not have to mail it back. If you get the absentee ballot, you can come late at night when there's no one around if you want, but that is an option. We're actually putting a note in the absentee ballots now that we're sending out with that information to let people know, hey, this is an option for you. So that's one of the things that I did ask staff to do as well, so people know that you can drop it off. We do need to have that before at least by Election Day. So, thank
Can
you.
they also hand carry it in to the polling place on Election Day?
I don't know, probably, but probably defeats the purpose of getting the absentee ballot.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know about anyone else, but I'm a horrible procrastinator.
Yeah, that's certainly an option. Yeah,
I would think it would be possible.
yeah, yep. Make sure it's your polling place. Well, I don't know if it matters if it's your polling place or not. Well, it has to be your polling place, but it can't be here. Julia.
No, the only thing I want to add is, that I am concerned that there are going to be a lot of residents that they're not going to be able to vote because if they don't have access to electronic platform to get informed that the city is what we are trying to do. So if there are any other mediums that the city is going to use to communicate with, especially with people that, they are not computer savvy or they don't go to, as I mentioned before, the electronic platform to get informed. I know that the city is pretty good at putting a lot of information on the Facebook, on the website, and Twitter. I don't use Twitter, but I get someone emailed me the other day about a tweet that the city put on Twitter, and I said, what is this, So I want to know if there are other ways that the city is going to be reaching out to do the outreach, especially to the elderly or people low income or people that they don't have those electronic platforms to get informed that, the city hall is going to be closed, first of all. Then you need to go to this online website, My Vote, to get your absentee ballot. So that one is my concern. How we are gonna outreach part of our residents that, they are not getting our message because they don't use our electronic platform. I want to know if we are planning to send like some sort of postcard to them or letter, something that they can, so they know. My concern is there are a lot of people that they're going to be, if the governor doesn't postpone the election day, they are not going to be able to vote, That one is my comment.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we did also reach out we had to reach out to the Fitchburg Star, but also sent out to other media outlets as well. I know Verona today announced that today is their last day to in-person vote. Middleton already announced that, Madison. So it's out there. Like I think I said, over 6,000 people have either voted or requested a ballot. That's out of 16,000 registered voters. So we're already at about 40% turnout. For comparison, 4 years ago, for the presidential primary election, there was 60% turnout. So we're getting pretty close to that already. So just some more information for you. Dorothy, do you want to?
Yeah, one thing I was going to ask, and I forget what the term is, but to record a blurb that I know the city clerk collects phone numbers for all the registered voters, or at least those that are willing to give her. Are we able to do a phone, Matt, what do we call those?
Just like a robocall?
Yeah, robocall, thank you. Are we able to set up a robocall to the numbers that the city has?
We would have to clarify that with our attorney, but I think we're getting borderline political activity once we start calling people and reminding them to vote. I don't want to go in that direction.
But you can say in the robocall that the city hall is going to be closed. You don't mention that, and that you don't even have to mention about removing the political. You can say the city hall is going to be closed, and you need to vote. This is your option. That's it.
We'll check into it.
You know what I mean?
Can we consider our electronic signs for that?
No, I think it has to be transportation messages only. We don't even have control over what's on the transportation signs, which is point of contention.
Yeah, yeah.
It's frustrating.
And we really need those right now for the construction projects that are moving forward.
Oh, you're talking about the move ones? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Dan.
Just real briefly, I have received some inquiries about voting. I think the site was down, the election board site. It's now back up. I think it was down for a bit yesterday, but I referred a couple of constituents to Tracy, and she was able to assist them. Those that do have electronic problems should contact the clerk's office, I think, is the best way to be accommodated. And they will assist anyone who needs help getting a ballot if they so choose to do so.
And just a reminder too, City Hall is closed, but people that do need accommodations to vote, we're making those accommodations. We're doing
Set an
meetings
appointment.
by appointment. So,
Tom.
It's funny, Pat, you brought up the signage. I was going to bring that up too in reference to PD, Fish Hatchery Road. That's going to come pretty quick at us, and the more signs we can get out, the better. I know you know that already. Just bring it up to Bill, that
he's
there is-
listening right now. So.
He's what?
He's listening up here. So.
Good. I got something for you, Bill. He went to a meeting, and because he went to this meeting, it was all good. It was about...
No, Mike, I'm sorry. Mike's listening. Bill is not
No.
listening.
No,
Mike's listening.
Mike's probably having a beer at home and still listening, right? Yeah. Yeah. Anyhow, Fish Hatchery Road. Just I'm going to throw out a caution flag. This could be discussed another time, no problem, or within city staff, if you want to take it up at one of your meetings, no problem. Here's what it is. During the construction on Fish Hatchery Road, I just think it's real important where we have 4 lanes going down to 2, And what it is it's always safety comes first, where we have stay in your lane. It's a dotted line, now it's all double line. You know what I'm referring to? They're all double. People are late for work. People are going through that construction zone quicker than they should. And they're not looking for bicyclists. We've got bicyclists, from what I've heard, going to be able to go through the construction zone on Fish Hatchery Road. Let me make this clear. I ride a bike. I'm not against bicyclists. But my first concern is safety. My big concern is public safety. And what we have going on here, and you can check with them, Pat, but I just think during this construction time, it's not a good idea to have bikes on Fish Hatchery Road. And you can double check it, but what happened, they had this meeting, and they were talking, I couldn't believe it, they were talking all about Fish Hatchery Road, the construction, and I had to go to the website to view it, but they were talking about bikes on Fish Hatchery Road, and I just think it's not the time. Let's just get through this, and then that's fine, or when we can open it up for them, but you know how people drive too, they're late, they're in a hurry, they're not looking for a bike. And I think that's real important that we just maybe want to discuss another time.
I think Mike has something to say about that.
Sorry, I was getting an email from Bill about what we were talking about earlier, Pat, so I'll have to review that. I was actually responding to what you wanted us to get for you for later on.
Basically, Tom's concerned about bikes on Fish Hatchery Road during construction.
Yeah, and we've talked specifically about trying to, with the contractor, of making sure that their routes are safe. However, I don't disagree with Tom that I don't think we want to encourage biking on Fish Hatchery Road during the construction, but there will be people that have to get across and through that area because that's their only mode of transportation. So I think, we want to accommodate those that's their limited mode of transportation. But I do agree that we don't want to encourage it, but we do want to protect those that are doing it.
All right. Thank you, Mike. All right. Sarah.
No report.
All right. And we'll go to people on the phone. Ann, do you have any report?
No report.
All right. Shannon?
No report.
All right. Janelle?
No report.
All right. Thank you. All right. We'll move on, no unfinished business, to new business. And does someone want to read this one right here? Maybe Tom?
Sure, I'll take a new business with Resolution R 57-20, mutual aid request from Milwaukee for Democratic National Convention. I'll move approval.
Is there a second? Seconded by Julia.
Pat, for information.
Do you want to speak to it? Do you want to speak?
Yeah, this basically outlines the requests that the city of Milwaukee put forth to many jurisdictions, suburban jurisdictions of Milwaukee, as well as city of Madison and some of the suburban Madison communities to assist during the Democratic National Convention. The chief does have 3 or 4 individuals that are willing to participate, and this is even if this thing ends up taking place, who knows? But the agreement there is has been reviewed by the city attorney, and staff recommendation is for approval of this mutual aid request.
I see we have Chief Brecklin on our Brady Bunch screen here. Would you like to add anything?
Good evening. I think Pat has summed it up well. But basically, yes, Milwaukee has reached out to medium and large-sized departments throughout the state to provide resources. They have a significant need. They are offering through the MOU to cover all salary and benefits, to include any time spent on training in advance of the event, as well as any meals and lodging that would be required for any of our personnel assisting. Ideally, if we are approved to participate, the small number that we send at this point in time does not appear to have any impact on our operations here at Fitchburg. And if there's a significant reason to recall them, there is a section in the MOU that allows us to do that. Valerie and our insurance company, Civmec, have reviewed the MOU, and it is to their satisfaction. In addition, Pat, Aaron, and Misty have all been briefed on the MOU as well.
And Chief Brecklin, I believe you said that, obviously with COVID going on right now, if something changes and they don't need us, then they just wouldn't go, right?
Correct. Yeah, I suspect that COVID is going to start factoring pretty heavily into the planning, particularly with the Olympics now postponing for around the same time frame.
All right, Tom.
Chief, if an officer gets in a fight or we get an officer hurt or hurt severely, is that covered by their insurance?
Yes, they are going to have insurance. Valerie has been in communication with the Milwaukee City Attorney on this. They cannot get the insurance until closer to the event, but they are talking, I think, somewhere around $5 to $10 million worth of insurance coverage for the event. It's basically a mutual aid request, Tom, as you recall from your days in the professional policing business, that we're acting under a mutual aid request. Our expenses would be covered if somebody's injured.
Dorothy.
Another Chad question. If, as a result of this request, we end up incurring overtime costs, is that something that they would also pay?
If it's overtime costs associated for the officers assigned to the event, yes, that is covered.
Julia.
My question, because I have seen or read in the past, sometime with this big convention, is that when it's time to pay, so we get paid after, the reimbursement, how long it takes to get reimbursed after, because the city of Milwaukee is the one reimbursing the city of Fitchburg, so, I don't know, I haven't seen the details, so I am asking for curiosity. How long it takes you to get the reimbursement?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
Other questions or comments at all?
Aaron, if I may speak?
Yeah. Was that Valerie up there?
Yep.
All right.
It's me. So I just wanted to address the question of insurances that came up. My biggest reservation in this agreement, and it's not one that rises to a level where I would say you shouldn't do it, but I just want to make you aware that we don't have the insurance policy in hand. My preference would have been to have the insurance so that we know that it's been procured. I understand that it's fairly normal for the insurance policy not to be issued until closer to the event. And so I think we can certainly reserve the right to withdraw if that insurance policy isn't issued. The other thing that I want to mention is that under the state statute, mutual aid agreements and law enforcement organizations are treated, the employees of the municipality that sends the employees, while they're providing aid to the receiving municipality, they're treated as their employees. So in other words, their insurance would generally cover them. In addition, there will be this separate insurance policy that will cover the event specifically. And lastly, Milwaukee will be required to indemnify the city in the event there are damages that would exceed the insurance policy. Now, Milwaukee's self-insured, so if there was like a tremendous loss that their insurance maxed out, Milwaukee would have to cover that, and I'm not really sure in what position they would be in, but given that they're the largest city in the state, I hope that they would end up paying that bill, and they certainly would have that legal obligation. So with all that said, I think it's certainly reasonable for the council to approve it, understanding that that's the situation.
All right, thank you. I do not see anyone else, so all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. All right, next up, anyone want to take this resolution?
I'll only read one more, and then
All right.
R said he'd read some.
All right, go ahead.
This resolution, R 35-20, adopting a memorandum of understanding between the city of Fitchburg and Reach a Child. I'll move approval.
Is there a second? Seconded by Dan. I know Chief Paul Vermacher is online. Would you like to speak to this, Chief?
Yeah, this is the fundraiser that Reach a Child has at Fire Station number 2. We have asked them in the past, and they've complied again this year with a memorandum of understanding to basically hold us harmless of anything that happens inside the building during that fundraiser. Just a little bit of history, Reach a Child is the group that provides positive distraction during emergencies. Basically, reading material. It's available on our fire vehicles, police vehicles, and in the Fitchburg ambulances. So they have contributed to us in the past.
Any questions at all? Do you want to make sure that they invite everyone on council? Or they should go.
I believe they did last year, so they will probably do again this year.
I don't think they did, actually.
If you don't hear about it, I'm sure the information will be out there.
All right. Yeah, I don't think they did last year, but that's all right. All right. I don't see any other questions, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Next up, it sounds like, Dan, you were volunteered to read this one.
Sure. A motion to approve resolution R 59-20, approving an agreement to Kilo INC, a loan agreement with the Madison Development Corporation Venture Debt Program.
Seconded by Julia. And did finance approve?
They did.
Do you want to speak to this, or would you like, I think Misty is on the phone. Do you want her to speak to this, or Pat? I don't know who.
Misty has a little more experience with this one than me.
All right.
So this is the KEO loan, right? Sorry.
Yes, the Keo loan, yep.
Yep, so MDC, which is Madison Development Corporation, in partnership with CEDA, issued a $60,000 loan to KEO. They've been coming into some cash flow concerns, so they are requesting some relief from the interest payment. So what we are bringing forward for your approval now is to maintain the $60,000 principal repayment, but to allow them to not pay interest for the rest of the term. And I forgot to look this up, Pat, but I think the final term is paid in 2022. So it's a very short amount of time that we would be foregoing interest, and it's well worth losing that in order to be able to preserve our principal.
So it's a Fitchburg business. We're not going to make money, but we won't lose money on it.
Well, we are not accruing the interest, so.
Yeah, we're not going to make the interest. Okay. Questions, Tom?
Misty, I didn't think about this at the time of financing. I didn't think of it. How can we protect ourselves in the future from this type of a situation? Because if this gets out in the public too, and all of a sudden I'm a small business or whatever, and borrow $50,000 from the city and say, well, wait a minute, we don't have to worry about that. Now, I just don't like to see loopholes like this happen again.
I think.
So it looks like Julia might want to respond to that.
Oh, yeah, I think I will. Go ahead, Julia.
Okay, so, this company is going through some financial difficulty right now. It's a Fitchburg company, and, we have two options. Or we can lose the whole thing, or we can help them. And I think that, so the only thing that we are asking here is not to accrue interest for the next 2 years, but we can still recuperate the rest of the principal of the loan. So I understand your concern, but on the other side, they are going through a very rough patch now, and so it's our, I would say, helping them through navigate this time, and we are not pardoning any sense the loan. They say we are only. We are.
I guess, I had two things. One is that it's an investment, so there's no guarantee. We've done very well on some other investments we've done. The one thing that I think is also important is that no general fund dollars were used to fund this, actually. It was, I believe, a TIF that we kept open for a year. And that's the money that was used, so it doesn't come out of the general fund. This is something that we put aside a while back, and we're not putting more money into it. We're just kind of reaping the benefits from previous wins. And I know we've invested in some other projects in Fitchburg as well. I can't remember off the top of my head, but maybe Misty or Pat remembers.
Yeah, this financing's basically for the businesses that fall through the cracks when it comes to bank financing, and this helps supplement some of their loans. So from the start, it's a little bit riskier of an investment than a bank would normally do. But again, as the mayor mentioned, it is funding that was set up for this type of purpose, and I think it's served some of our businesses very well in the past.
Misty.
Yeah, the other thing I'll say is we did have one loan that we offered that wasn't successful. It was much worse than what this was. We did lose some money on that, but there were some other investments or loans that we've offered that have been very successful, and we've gotten dividends from those. And that benefit from those ones that have been successful have far outweighed the loss that we took on those other ones. So overall, yes, it is a risk, but it's been successful for us overall.
Further questions at all? I don't see anyone else with a hand raised online. All right. All in favor then, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? All right, then that one is approved. Next, Dan, you want to do another one?
Yeah, motion to approve Resolution R 60-20, amending the 2020 General Fund Budget Building Appraisal. Direct referral.
Is there a second? Seconded by Julia. And did finance approve?
They did.
All right. Pat, do you want to speak to this, or do you want me to?
Oh, I can do it. This is just a general fund budget amendment to allow us to do an appraisal on the town building the town of Madison building, located on Fish Hatchery Road, which, as part of our agreement with the city of Madison and the town of Madison, will come to Fitchburg upon annexation of the town in 2022. We've received an estimate for the appraisal of $5,000. This appraisal will help us in negotiations with the city of Madison or whoever else is interested in purchasing that property.
As we're doing planning for the town dissolution, this is a piece of that.
Yep.
Yeah, Julia.
Do we need to have an appraisal company to do this? Can we use our own assessor to do all of this? I don't know,
Yes, we need a professional appraiser because the individuals that will be buying it would probably like to see the appraisal.
Okay, yeah.
And it probably from a third party, it would
Yeah,
be,
makes sense, yeah.
it would be an arm's length transaction that way.
Yeah.
Any other questions at all? Dorothy?
If we're on town of Madison,
Well, it has to be related to this piece, though. The direct referral. You can't just talk about anything town of Madison.
right.
Okay.
I was gonna ask if, our fire department or police department, AMS, has looked at the contents and appraised them as well.
We're in the process of doing that now. We don't believe that there's going to be any equipment at the time of annexation that's going to be worth it for either one, the city of Madison or the city of Fitchburg to take over, but we are looking at all the equipment. Above and beyond the vehicles, we'll be looking at the tools and everything else they have.
So most of that will probably go to Wisconsin surplus?
I couldn't tell you where it's going to go. It would go through our normal surplus process.
All right. Seeing nothing else, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? All right, that one's approved. All right, next up, would like to read this one. Any volunteers?
A motion to approve Resolution R 69-20, a resolution ratifying the emergency proclamation, allowing members of the Common Council and other bodies to appear telephonically or via the internet, and suspending committee, commission, and board meetings unless deemed necessary by the mayor and city administrator. do the COVID-19 response.
Is there a second? Second by Julia. Is it Valerie want to speak to this first, maybe, or someone else?
Yeah, I can speak to this. So as you all probably know, on last Monday, on the 16th, the mayor declared a state of emergency in the city of Fitchburg. Of course, the governor also declared a state of emergency in the state several days prior to that. And so the law requires the Common Council, as soon as the council meets after an emergency proclamation, to either ratify that proclamation or amend it or repeal it. So this resolution, as drafted, and of course it's open for discussion and the council can make amendments if it sees fit, but as drafted, it ratifies the proclamation in its entirety, as well as affirms moving forward during this public health emergency, conducting meetings in whole or in part electronically, either via the internet or via the telephone. And lastly, it's, as mentioned, suspends meetings unless deemed necessary by the mayor and the city administrator. And I'm here to answer any questions.
All right, Julia.
So I have a question about this. So if we can use the internet and have these, meetings like we are having today, I think we can continue having our council meetings.
I would strongly urge you to not do that, absent a public health emergency.
Yeah, but for this we could. During this.
During
COVID.
the emergency,
Yeah.
Because what happens if these emergencies last for 2 or 3 months? You know what I mean? And the mayor need to make there are some policy decision that he cannot make. He need to have our consent. So I think that if this period extended for more than 1 month, I don't think why not we cannot continue having, our council meeting, and if we need to discuss.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you, or perhaps I misspoke. The subcommittee meetings would not be held unless the mayor deems appropriate. The council isn't. The intention is that the council will continue to meet.
Oh, okay. No, because the subcommittee I know is. But my concern is that if it's about policy, I mean, we need to make some decision that they are, that the mayor need to consult with us. We need to do it. I will feel, I mean, and second, I will ask. I am all in favor of this, but the only thing that I will ask the mayor if he keep us on the loop all the time. When you make a decision or you say, today I have to approve this. This is what happens. Send out an email. Keep us on the loop. This is the only thing that I will, I will ask. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yep. Tom.
I guess I have a question on this in reference to Valerie. It says necessary by. Unless deemed necessary by the mayor and city administrator?
That's correct.
Where do we get that wording? What about the police chief or the council president? I mean, I see the mayor and the city administrator. Where did that come from?
Look out.
That was drafted as requested by the mayor.
Okay. That's what I was wondering. You can see what I said.
So now you know who to blame in the future.
She answered the question.
All right. Any other questions?
I tried, Danny.
We tried? Well,
All right.
next time. Well.
Anything else? All right.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
I don't see anyone else, so I will go to a vote. All in favor of approving the resolution, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. All right, that one is approved. And next up, who wants to read this one?
Okay, we can do a motion to approve Resolution R 70-20, approval of the City of Fitchburg Basic Emergency Response Plan.
Is there a second? Seconded by Julia. Chief Paul Marker, do you want to speak to this first, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. The basic emergency response plan allows us to do a couple of different things. First of all, the purpose is to provide authority. It actually outlines the authority as specified by federal entities, state, and local. It allows us to explain some of the basic exceptions of personnel, resources, conditions, much of what was actually talked about with the state of emergency. It also addresses the role and function of the Emergency Operations Center. So it outlines what we do in an emergency and how we respond as outlined by emergency management. The other thing it does is it provides a little bit of scope as far as how we coordinate not only our local resources, but then how we work in an escalating situation. So moving up the chain with the county, the state, and the federal government. It gives us the idea to address how we apply our policy in times of emergency, and it gets into detail that way. Basically, it's a roadmap. It's a game plan, so that in the future, as we approach these things, it's done consistently. The other thing that is of note is it addresses the language is consistent with what we would see in the county's documentation and the state's documentation. So that's important from a learning curve standpoint. So as our incidents progress to the level that we bring on additional entities, it's outlined much the same way.
I will say that even though we're kind of bringing across the finish line right now because of COVID, this is something that Chief Paulmacher had been working on for a while and was 95% done actually before this happened because of his previous background and knowledge and something he had been planning for. And that's probably the reason why we were able to get this done so quickly, because a lot of work had already been done by Chief Paulmacher. Tom, question?
I didn't mean to stop you.
No, I'm good.
Chief, I've seen a lot of emergencies in the city of Fitchburg in 30 years. I've never seen anything like this before. Is there any business in the city of Fitchburg right now that's making masks or gloves or doing anything in reference to this response?
I can tell you that there's a lot of different corporate citizens that have stepped up from one respect to another. Obviously, ProMega's involved quite a bit in the response to COVID, but we did have a situation where we were low on PPE, mostly masks. We put out a call and we received what amounted to about 30 cases of masks just today. We share that with Fitchrona because of the fact that we're response partners, and because of the amount, we actually get to impact the response in Dane County. So to answer your question indirectly, there are people in the city and in the area that have been stepping up to address the shortage.
Yeah, and I think this plan is really for any emergency response, even though there's one happening right now. It's meant to be for anything in the future as well. Valerie, did I hear you possibly want to say something?
I think that was maybe me.
Oh,
That was me.
okay, go ahead. Oh,
So just as a follow-up, I saw a Facebook posting. Can I assume that that need has been satisfied?
For the most part, the need has been satisfied. We still have a need for gowns and face shields and surgical masks. We received a lot of N95 masks, which are a higher grade mask, but the surgical masks are typically what we try to wear right now on every call. And that allows us to make contact outside of the 6 foot range. Within the 6 foot range, we should be applying the higher quality mask that protects us to a greater level. So we still need some of the items that are listed on that letter.
Thank you.
other questions on this item at all? All right. Seeing none then, all in favor of approving the Fitchburg Basic Emergency Response Plan, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Next up, someone on finance want to do this one?
Motion to approve resolution R62-20, temporarily revising budget amendment and purchasing requirements and amending the 22 general fund budget in response to COVID-19.
All right, seconded by Julia. And this is budget. How about, yeah, Misty, go ahead.
Sure. So there are three things really included in this resolution. There's a two-page staff memo that's included, really to lay out our proposed processes, considering the emergency that we're in. The one thing I'd like to say is that a lot of times in a state of emergency, ordinances are not enforced as strong, but we wanted to make sure you guys understood what our process, what our plan was, so that you could all be in the loop on what we're doing. So the first piece of it is a budget amendment for emergency-related expenses. We're requesting $250,000 of the city's fund balance, or our reserves, or our rainy day fund, I'll say, for kind of the upfront cost of responding to the emergency. There's been some items lately, in particular with the elections, so the postage is a lot higher than we would have expected. We've had some extra LP staff coming in to try to help with the workload and some extra overtime. Then on an IT side, we had some consultant hours to make sure that our staff could work remotely as needed. We've increased the bandwidth for our internet and some other things like that. At this point, what we're asking for is more or less a blanket approval of that $250,000 to be allocated amongst the various needs administratively, which means with the mayor's approval. And then I will report back to the council after the fact with exactly how that money was spent, so that you're still in the loop on that. The next piece of it that's in there is a revised budget amendment process. So the ordinances lay out when a budget amendment can be approved by the mayor and when it has to be approved by council. So right now, it's $5,000 or 5% is what the mayor has authority within expenditures. We would like to get rid of that dollar threshold. So if departments can absorb it within their other lines, the mayor can authorize that. And then if it's anything that is expenses for revenues or stuff like, or that 250,000, then the mayor can authorize it. And again, I will report back after the fact with what budget amendments were done using this alternate procedure. And then the last piece is the revised purchasing process. So as I'm sure you're aware, you get resolutions for pre-approvals that are $25,000 or more. Things that are public construction, there's specific statutes required. There is an exception for emergency purchases, which we will ask the mayor to authorize. Anything that's not an emergency, we would continue to bring through council. And then for things that are not public construction, that are within budget, meaning that the council has looked at it, the council has said, yes, this is something we want to do. Now we're simply implementing that purchase. We will ask for the mayor permission to proceed with those purchases, and again, report to you at the end. You'll see it for all of those things on that $10,000 and above listing that goes to finance committee, or on the all checks list that goes to council every meeting too. You would see that there also. So at the end of the day, we really just want to make sure you are comfortable with the processes. We're giving the mayor a lot more authority, but we are committing that we will report back to you at the end. The mayor has directed staff that anything that can wait, he would like it to wait. I also would prefer that because I am a little nervous about the financial impact of everything that's happening. The other thing is the mayor said that he doesn't intend to approve anything that's a policy item. So he would still continue to bring those back to you guys as well.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I think a couple things, something like the Dean County Housing Authority, I'm not just going to approve that. As much as I would like to, I'm not going to. But, for an example, I just had someone in Public Works ask me about management of our, the stormwater gullies and stuff like that, which is something that is in the budget. We do it every year. And now is the time we really need to approve that. Because if we don't do that control, then invasives start growing, and then they start blowing into people's yards, and it's more of a challenge to get those under control later. So that's something that we do it every year. It's in the budget, and it's important to do that in a timely manner. So that's something that I would approve. I believe, Misty, though, we did talk about, you said that at the end of this, we'll provide a report back. But I believe we talked about providing updates more often than that. We don't know how long this is going to last. And I don't want it to be 2 or 3 months and, oh, this is all stuff we did. That's not right either. So I don't know what kinds of updates we'll do, if it's over a certain dollar amount or anything like that. But we will do interim reporting back to the council as well.
Yep, so included in the document is monthly, is what I've agreed. So I don't know what that report's gonna look like necessarily. It probably will be an interim report with the formal resolution doing the final approval at the end of all of this, but yes, some interim reporting we'll definitely do.
All right. Yeah, Julie.
For the reporting, for transparency, because we are asking to use $250,000 for the fund. I am imagining as as I do this for living, so to have at the end of the emergency to have like a report, like a kind of like a cash flow report, like. You understand, like we use it for in this category and, instead of, and to see if we have a balance of that, if we use the 250 or we use half of that, how do we use it, in which category? It will be, for transparency, for taxpayer, that because we are using money from other fund that we use for reserve, but we are using for this type of emergency. So I would like to see something like that, at the end, for reporting. What else? Oh, and when you talk about, we talk about, it seems that they're in the budget, but there are also projects that are coming through the CIP that, they having already approved and we have it in the budget. So I think we need to, don't you see that we need to include the CIP project that come, you know what I mean? I don't know. Or is understood in the language that I don't know.
Misty, do you want to speak to that? I think if it's been approved in the CIP, it seems like that's one of those things that I would approve if we did approve it.
Yep, so the CIP is that planning document. The budget is where the money is actually allocated for purchases.
Yeah.
So things that would have been in the CIP are
we
also
should
in the
read
budget. Those would be things that Aaron could approve. Again, if it's within budget, whether that's amended or adopted, and they, the quotes still have to be done and all of that, or documented why sole source. We will make sure our documentation is still very thorough.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you mentioned that, is there a project that we need to, on budget? What happens if we bid something and is coming X amount or X percentage above the amount that we already budgeted from that project? When is the mayor need to come to us to say, hey, you know what, we have this amount budget for this project, but we went to bidding and then it came like 10% more. So what is that threshold that we are telling him, yeah, it's fine, you can, you know what I mean? What is that percentage? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there isn't necessarily a percentage. I'm looking at the chart on the second page of the memo. So assuming it is more than $25,000, and if it's not within budget, if it's an emergency, then the mayor will just authorize it, and we will do a budget amendment after the fact, more or less to clean up the language. Again, these are emergencies. If it's not an emergency and it's over budget, we will take it back to council again before it's approved. Unless it can be absorbed within another project, for example.
Okay, my last one.
Yeah.
So if there is something that is coming over budget, so we are gonna pay for that over budget from the $250,000, or we are gonna do an amendment to the budget later?
That would be an amendment, sorry, Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, please.
It would be an amendment to the budget later. So that $250,000 is really the interim things that we need to do in order to address the emergency. So things being over budget is not necessarily because of COVID.
Okay.
It would be, because of bids came in higher. That'd be different.
I don't think I asked this. Did finance approve?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions, Dorothy?
Is there an expectation that we backfill this?
What do you mean?
If money is used from, contingency or whatever the word is, for this, do we intend to pay ourselves?
Misty?
Yep, so as of right now, our fund balance policy is 15 to 25% of revenues. We are a little bit above that policy right now by about $1 million. So as long as we stay within our policy at the end of all this and exceeding it a little bit, I think it's a perfectly reasonable reason to dip into your fund balance. I mean, how many times does something like this ever happen? That would be a perfect use of a rainy day fund. And I think that's something I could explain to Moody's very easily.
So you just said that I have $1 million to spend because we're over by $1 million?
We'll smack him for you.
Administrator and the finance director.
Can't throw anything at me when you're online.
I know.
You can drive fast.
Oh, she lives close. That's not good.
I think we gotta roll back to 6220 again and look at that again.
All right. Any other questions, Tom?
You know, I'm really not trying to be the bearer of bad news. I'm really not, but I've never seen anything like this. It's, you know, I'm probably on Misty's page, and, you know, we have hotel tax. That's going to be down. We have purchasing. Just because you approved it in a budget, the mayor can bring it back to us, that's no problem. I'll give you an example. Say we approved a truck in the highway department, and it was hasn't been bought yet though. Where I'm going is we may want to relook at it. It seems to be, in city government, it happens a lot. I hear it so often, it's unbelievable. Well, it was approved in the CIP. Well, we approved that in the budget. Well, that doesn't mean you can't take it back. It doesn't mean that. That's what we're here for. I'm really not trying to be the bearer of bad news. I still say that the city investments, we're going to be down. We're sitting here today in March. I'm not sure what this next budget's going to look like. But taken from the rainy day fund, the city of Madison is down 16 million, 30%. Just from, I don't know if it's all true what I've read, but this is tough times. Not to mention, we have a lot of seniors out there that are watching this tonight that are on only probably Social Security and IRAs. I want to tell them tonight, don't look at your IRA before you go to bed.
It went up.
Because it's not too pretty. So I'm throwing out a caution flag is all I'm doing and saying, this isn't time to spend a lot of money because I think there's a lot of things you don't know about that are going to hit us. I'm sure the mayor talked about this with staff too, but there's an extra one out there I really don't want to say, but even hiring staff, something may have to wait. I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
But come September, I can't sit here, and I'll never sit here, and other councils have done it, and give the taxpayers 7-8% increase. I won't do it. That's huge. You're pushing them right out of their homes. Right out of their homes. And it's just food for thought. I know, Misty, you know a lot of this because I know you watch it. You'd probably think that I'm your assistant, but I'm not. And just be aware when the times come.
Yeah, one of the things that Misty said earlier too, that we are asking staff, can it wait? Because if it can wait, we want it to wait because of the uncertainty and because we don't know what's going to happen. So if things can wait, we do want to wait for now until we have a better idea of what's happening after this. We get through this. Julia?
Yeah, I was trying to follow up you and Tom about that maybe it's time to decide that if we need to make some big purchases that really need those one, or we can wait until there is a better situation, do we need to, you know what I mean? To reevaluate our purchasing, especially big purchase, if we have to, or it can wait, because if we need the money to pay payroll or pay health insurance for our employees, So I think we need to reevaluate that. If this thing gets longer. I don't know.
Yep. All right. Anything else? All right. Then all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Next up, Danny, you want to do this one again, Finance?
Motion to approve resolution R72-20, approving a paid emergency leave policy for city employees between March 16th and approximately April 1st, 2020.
Is there a second? Second by Julia. Did Finance approve?
They did.
All right. And who wants to take this one? Misty, all right.
Sure. So first I want to address the timeline that we're talking about. So you'll see I'm calling it the interim time. So between March 26th, which is when the emergency was declared, and then April 1st is when this interim would end, because come April 2nd, there is a federal leave that is being required that we offer to the employees. So this is really that stopgap measure for in the interim time. So what this is it's providing an emergency leave option for employees that either have been diagnosed with the virus, are caring for a family member that has been diagnosed, are experiencing symptoms, or are quarantined or isolated. Ultimately, we don't want our employees to have to choose between getting a paycheck and coming into work when they're sick and possibly infecting the rest of our workforce. The other situation is, as we know, schools are closed and daycares are closed, so employees are having to rearrange due to family schedules. In situations where the city is able to provide the opportunity to do work from home, we are expecting employees to do that. So, for example, I'm working from home right now. If I choose not to work from home, then I would use my accrued time for that. For employees, however, that don't have an option to work from home, either because of technology or because of the work that they do and that they can do from home, then that time would be paid without having to use their leave time, even though it is unworked.
Yeah, I think, talking with the staff and, Misty, Pat, to me, the main thing is making sure that our employees are taken care of during this crisis, and that if they're impacted by COVID, that we can do everything we can to help them out, ensure that they are still getting paychecks and things like that, so that they can pay their bills and stay in their homes and take care of their kids and do what they need to. So I thought in this emergency, in this crisis, that it was important that staff knows that we got their back and we'll help them out and we'll do everything in our power for them. So, Dorothy.
And we're not having to pay extra, right? This is money that we would be paying them had they been working?
No, I believe, Misty, go ahead.
Yep. So there is actually a budget amendment associated with this as well, too. The problem is that I don't know how much that is, because it's going to depend on how many employees take this emergency leave and then which specific employees take the emergency leave. So if you're looking at a firefighter that we need to have coverage, if one of the firefighters takes this leave, we'll probably have to backfill that shift using overtime. So that will have a significant cost. In other departments, say in the finance department, if one of my team takes this leave, we wouldn't backfill that shift. So we would, like you say, Dorothy, pay them the same that we would anyway. So there wouldn't be a budget impact for that group as much.
Yeah, Julia.
Okay, when you talk about a separate budget amendment that maybe we need to do, from where the money is going to come? Because our budget that we passed, we don't have any room. From where the money is going to come?
So it'd be the same as that $250,000 we talked about. So that rainy day fund that the city has.
Oh, okay, from there, okay. All right.
And so we're having all of our employees code their timesheets so that we can very easily run a report to find out what the impact was of it.
Okay.
Any other questions at all? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. One more, Dan.
Motion to approve resolution R-73-20, authorizing the mayor to implement policies for all city utilities in compliance with current and future PSC emergency orders.
Seconded by Julia. Did finance approve?
They did.
All right, and then Misty, is this you again?
It sure is.
All right.
So our water utility is regulated by the Public Service Commission, the PSC. Our sewer utility and our stormwater utility are not regulated, but we generally follow the same process for those two as we do for the water utility. And so as part of this emergency, the PSC has issued some emergency orders. When they direct us to do something, we just do it because they're a regulatory authority and they are telling us we have to. The emergency order that was issued over the weekend gave us options to do certain things. So the one that we're talking about now is we have the option to waive interest and penalty on people during this emergency time. So what we're asking for you guys is permission for the mayor to make those policy decisions based on the current orders that are in place and any future PSC orders that are out there. Again, with a report back to you guys, letting you know what decisions those were. And then also confirming that we should follow these same rules for all three utilities and not just for the regulated utility.
Questions on this one at all? Seeing no questions, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Now, before we can leave, Pat tells me we need to reconsider 5220, and
Yeah, and if we could have Valerie, if we could speak to Valerie, or I see Mike B there. If we could have,
first, I think we need to do a motion to reconsider. So someone could do a motion to reconsider.
We'll motion to reconsider resolution R-5220, resolution approving a cost-sharing agreement with Promega Corporation related to the funding of Lacey Road and Commerce Park Drive.
Is there a second? Seconded by Julia. All right, and now who would like to speak to this? Mike?
Yeah, I can speak initially, and Valerie probably can talk about the legality. And it's my fault. I missed the original subdivision improvement agreement was with Payne and Dolan, but since the property has been transferred to Promega, so this amendment should have been amended to say Promega instead of Payne and Dolan. And I think what Pat gave you is the amended agreement, that the amendment could be with Promega, not Payne and Dolan. And I apologize for the mistake.
So, Mike, it's the same agreement. It's just that with who it's with is different.
Correct.
Okay.
So I will motion to amend.
Is it,
Well, hold on.
so we're looking at 5220, correct?
Correct.
And it's with Promega.
Not Payne and Dolan.
Correct.
Promega.
Promega owns it now, so now it's
Right.
right. Hold on, let me find it.
Yeah, the copy I'm looking at, I think, is correct.
This is Valerie here.
Go ahead, Valerie.
Just a moment. I think the issue wasn't with the resolution, but the supporting document itself.
Yeah, the agreement.
resolution authorizes the mayor to sign the subdivision improvement agreement amendment, and that amendment involved Payne and Dolan as a signing party. It should have read Promega. So the substance of that agreement is not changing. It's just Payne and Dolan can't sign that agreement because they don't own the land anymore, and it'd be meaningless for them to be executing this agreement. We need the owner of the property to sign it, and that would be Promega Corporation.
Okay, so what was in the packet, and it was wrong, but what was on the agenda is correct. Okay.
And here's correct.
Okay. All right.
The
So it's just
resolution is correct. The supporting document needed to be updated. The substance of the supporting document is really the same, but the signing party needs to be the owner of the property, which is Promega, not Payne and Dolan.
okay.
To change all of this.
Yeah, and
no, that's just amending the original agreement. If you look at the signature line on page 3,
So somewhere in the agreement, it says that
Ah,
Promega
okay,
now.
okay, okay.
It's Promega now, the
Yeah.
signatory, instead of Payne and Dolan.
Okay.
Quick process question, Valerie. After we hopefully approve the reconsider, then we need to do a new motion then to approve as amended?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. So first, we need to vote on the reconsider. And so a yes vote would say, yes, you want to reconsider this to just kind of clear this up. So all in favor would say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. All right, now I need a motion to approve as amended. 5220.
I'd motion to approve R 5220 and to amend the language to say Promega, the appropriate language to say Promega as opposed to Payne and Dolan.
All right, thank you, Dan. Seconded by Tom. All right, any further questions at all? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. All right, that
Thank you
is
very much
approved.
for that.
Thank you. All right, so next council meeting is in 3 weeks. We got an extra Tuesday in there, April 14th. Committee of the whole would be April 22nd, which a couple of us I know will not be on council anymore. Sad. We'll miss you though. But you have one more meeting before you can go. Sorry. Why are you guys smiling so much? Wait a minute. They both got really big smiles when I said that. All right. That's all I have for now. Yeah, Julia?
Yeah, can I ask a question to Misty, or maybe to you guys, is, you know, I know that the government is planning to, working on a stimulus package. If there is anything there that is going to help municipality or grants that we can apply, we are going to be looking at all of that.
Yeah, I think from a staff perspective, we'll definitely keep an eye on whatever the feds come out with.
Yeah.
I think right now it's targeted for businesses and individuals. Later, we may see something channeled down through the states, but
Okay.
you know, who knows? At this point, I guess that anybody's guess is
Yeah, okay.
good guess.
Yeah. Stay healthy, everyone. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Dorothy?
Another, I know there is discussion afoot to ask the governor to delay this election by a month. What kind of upheaval would that end up entailing in the city here?
No idea. Without knowing the details, if it's just extending it for a month.
I
don't
think there's
know.
just too much speculation out there right now. It's up to the legislature. And who knows if they'll even bring it up.
I know our ordinances, and Valerie told me this, that by ordinance, if it does get moved back, then we just keep serving. And so that means that Dorothy and Janelle, I'm sorry, Dorothy, Ann and Janelle are not off the hook quite yet, maybe. We might have one or two more. But we'll keep teleconferencing you in.
I think, so what I had read, I read an article.
Okay, if we're speculating on the election shouldn't happen during the meeting. So how about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, moved by Dan. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Julia. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. And it is 10:17. Thank you all very much.